Hi, everybody. Hello, welcome. My name is Steven, and many of you may already know me as the communications manager for the Laudato Si Action Platform. It is my pleasure to welcome each of you today on behalf of the platform for our webinar, which we titled Built for You, Exploring the Platform Together. I invite you to introduce yourselves in the chat with your name, your country, and your diocese or organization. If you'd like to follow along in Spanish, Italian, French, or Portuguese, we've got you covered. Just click the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen and select the language that you prefer. Also, a quick note, this webinar is being recorded and streamed live on YouTube. You'll be able to watch the full recording later on YouTube, along with the slides and my details as a speaker. We want this to be a warm and welcoming space as well for everybody. So we ask that you keep your comments in the chat kind and respectful and focused on today's topic. If you'd like to revisit the netiquette guidelines, which you agreed to when signing up for this webinar, you'll find that link in the chat as well. Thank you, everybody, for helping us make the space a space of care and connection. And of course, if you have any questions during the webinar, please submit them by clicking on the Q&A button anytime. Any question put in the regular chat may get lost, so please use the Q&A button and we'll answer as many as you can. If you have any questions during the webinar, again, we'll return to those and we'll have a dedicated Q&A session in a moment toward the end of the session. To give you all a sense of what to expect in the next hour, we'll do a few things. We'll begin with a short overview of the updates we made from the website, why these changes were necessary, and how they hope to honor the feedback from participants like you. From there, we'll walk together through the key features of the new experience, the redesigned dashboard, the curated suggested actions, and our new certificate program for institutions. Along the way, we'll invite each of you to explore your own account in real time, and we're going to practice together. So feel free to open up a browser tab and follow along when we do that. We'll also use the chat for light participation throughout this webinar so we can learn from each other and keep things interactive. And as I mentioned a moment ago, finally, we'll have a dedicated Q&A session to hear directly from you and respond to all of your questions and ideas and insights. So overall, we hope that this will be both practical and encouraging and an opportunity for you to maximize the website as a tool for our shared commitment toward integral ecology. Before we officially begin, I also want to acknowledge that yesterday, Pope Leo XIV celebrated a historic moment, the very first Mass for the care of creation, which I think marks a deepening of our church's commitment to ecological conversion. This was more than just a symbolic act. It was, and I want to quote the Pope here, a call to action rooted to prayer, justice, and the gospel itself. I know only last week in his message for the World Day of Prayer for the Care of Creation, Pope Leo offered us a vision, and here I'm going to quote him again. We too are seeds, seeds of peace and hope. By working with love and perseverance, we can sow justice and contribute to the renewal of hope. So before we begin today's session, I want us to take a moment of quiet to reflect on this calling. Let's center ourselves with an intention to be bearers of this hope, not only through our work, but through our daily choices, our advocacy, our prayer, and our way of being in the world. Thank you for sharing that brief moment of silence with me. May this platform be a tool for the seeds each of you plant. May the work we share today grow into bold, rooted in enduring acts for our common home. Amen. All right, let us begin. I want to start our time together by taking a look at this slide here. This is a behind the scenes snapshot from our website redesign process. It includes early mockups, dashboards, page layouts, even reference sites we studied for inspiration. All of this was driven by one thing, listening. Over the past 2 years, we've heard from many of you, directly from participants who shared that the previous version of the platform wasn't always honestly easy to navigate. Some of you weren't sure where to begin. Some people felt overwhelmed. Others want clearer guidance and more practical tools to help them live out their commitment to care for our common home. And I want to say we took that feedback very seriously. And the updates that we made weren't just technical. We would hope that they would ultimately be pastoral as well. I think we wanted the platform to feel more like a companion, clear, intuitive, and supportive of your ecological journeys, no matter where each of you are starting from. And I want to say whether you are a school, a parish, a religious community, a family, or an individual, this platform was rebuilt with you in mind. I also want to mention that this work is also just a part of a broader journey. We are celebrating the 10th anniversary of Laudato Si this year and the Jubilee Year of Hope. And I think we knew this was the moment to renew and strengthen our tools for the road ahead of us. Our hope is that the redesigned platform is one of those tools. It can be a way to make the path forward more visible for you and more accessible as we seek to sow precisely these seeds of peace, justice, and hope together, as Pope Leo mentioned. So let me walk through each of the three main updates. The following tools we built are here to help the communities you work with take actual steps forward, again, without getting lost or overwhelmed. And it starts with the redesigned dashboard we see on our screen right now. Our hope is that this dashboard would guide you rather than overwhelm you. Let's say you're the principal of a school or a ministry leader at your parish. As soon as you log in, you're welcomed into this personalized space that shows you where you are in your Laudato Si journey, what you've already completed, what your next step should be. The goal here is clarity. You don't have to wonder or guess where to begin or what comes next. And this means that the dashboard is now divided into clear progressive steps, separated by time frame. We have first year actions. These are things that you do once for many of you when you first joined the platform. And some of these first year actions are very simple but meaningful. For example, sharing your commitment with your wider community and not just keeping it internal or private, submitting a reflection on your values, which many of you have already done, reviewing the curated suggested actions in your My Action section, which we'll go over in more detail in a moment. And then you'll have your annual actions. These are steps that we invite you to take each year as part of an ongoing cycle. And they can include steps like creating a new Laudato Si plan each year using our updated tools, or indicating the actions you've completed to track your growth and impact. For those of you who represent institutions, taking a moment to decide if you want to support your plan with financial resources. And finally, a step as simple but important as celebrating your progress, both as a community and as a part of this global platform. Each step includes a short explanation with more context, and you just click the button to confirm you've taken that action. Again, the idea is to keep it accessible, even for new participants or those with limited time. And if you need a little more information, there's a button below titled More About the Steps in the Platform, and that takes you to a guide specifically for your sector, whether you're a school, parish, religious community, or diocese, or an individual, for example. To make this even easier as well, we have new reflection and plan templates, which are available right in the dashboard. Again, we wanted to smoothen the process for users who need a little more guidance and help ensure that every submission is well structured and complete. We want this to be simple, but effective. Whether you're a diocese or a lay group, it's all based on your context, what's relevant to you and what you need and where you are in the process. Now, I want to talk about the part that I'm most excited about, and that's precisely the My Action section of the new website. This is really the heart of the website. It's why we call it an action platform. And these are personalized recommendations to guide you in concrete and hopefully achievable ways. So let's say you're a parish and you take a quick self-assessment, which you're seeing on your screen right now. Some of you have already taken this. Some of you may be seeing this for the first time. But it's just 6 multiple choice questions, and it takes less than 2 minutes. The goal is to suggest the most relevant and impactful ecological actions for your community. These questions are basic things: access to electricity, water, jobs, and healthcare. There are no right or wrong answers, and your responses stay private, but they help us guide you toward environmental actions that make the most sense for your local reality. And based on your answers, you might see an action like install efficient lighting. You get a whole list, but it's not just a list. It's real practical guidance, where to begin, who to involve, how to adapt it to your reality. And we also didn't want this to be a giant, overwhelming list. It's a handful of thoughtful, tailored actions with real world impact. I think many of us hear the idea that, oh, I really care for our common home and I want to support the environment, but I don't know where to begin. And this is our response to that sensation. So you can check these actions as you complete them, and the system resets each year in January, so you allow for new tracking and fresh commitments each year. At the end of the day, we just don't want to tell you to do something. We want to help you take action in a way that feels grounded. And finally, to introduce our final new feature, I want to talk about the annual certificate for institutions that complete all the steps in their dashboard. This certificate is issued by the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development at the Vatican, and we hope that it provides meaningful visibility for schools, dioceses, religious communities, and institutions committed to ecological action and conversion. It's not about recognition for its own sake, but it's about building momentum, strengthening credibility, and making visible the good work that so many of you are already doing. I think just the other day, or last week actually, St. Joseph University in Beirut, Lebanon, shared their certificate on social media and tagged us on Instagram. And I loved this. We could see them celebrating their work, the steps they've already taken this year to receive the certificate, and the kind of work that they're doing with their students and schools because of their participation uh, in this care for our common home. And I hope that we all get to share in an experience like that. I do want to say, while this certificate is currently only available to institutions, individuals and families do remain a part of this work and the heart of these efforts. You're each part of a community, and we see many of you are pushing your institutions to be a part of this broader change. So my hope is that you see this program not as something separate, but as a sign of how your leadership is influencing the institutions around you, and as a reminder that we're here to work collectively. I also want to share honestly about another thing. This platform is still growing. We've been working hard behind the scenes to refine the experience, fix bugs, some of which definitely keep me up at night, and build tools that are truly helpful. Just last week, for example, we had a participant let us know that their survey appeared in English, even though their account is registered in French. It's not an end of the world kind of error, but it's exactly the kind of thing we care about. Our team documented it, and we're actively working on a fix. And why do I share this? I want to share this because we don't see the Laudato Si Action Platform website as a static product. It's a living platform built with your input and shaped by our shared commitment to ecological conversion. You're not just users, you're companions in a journey, and we're walking in this together. So I just shared a lot of information. I'm sure many of you have questions and want to explore, but I'm curious. What part of the update are you most curious to explore further? I'm going to share that question in the chat with my team, and feel free to share a quick thought. I just want to get a sense of what's resonating with you and what you're excited to dig into next. So we'll take a moment and see what people are sharing. Mhm. We have a comment from Mark that we're more curious about sharing a more user-friendly platform. Thank you, Mark. Mhm. We have curiosity around curating vignettes and stories of success. Let's see, the survey feature. Let's see, someone's new in their parish and they're interested in taking action steps, a lot of curiosity around the action steps, the templates, some surprise around the changes. And I completely understand that. And I'm glad that we have this webinar to deepen our understanding together. More interest around the templates. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Please keep sharing. And we'll dig into that a little bit more as we delve into the Q&A session. But before that, I want to do something interactive with each of you. A lot of people just named the actions a moment ago, and we're going to explore that together as a key part of the new platform. I'd love for each of you to take a moment to log in, open a new tab in your browser, and go to laudatosiactionplatform.org, or the version of the website in your respective language. We'll share that in the chat in a moment. And use the same account you used when you signed up. We'll give each of you a moment to do that and get ready. And once we're all in our dashboard, we'll do the next steps. Let's see, I just shared the login page for those who are looking for that URL. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on. Once you're logged in, you're gonna land on your dashboard form. From there, look for the section called My Actions. You'll find it either as a step on your dashboard or in the top bar menu. Go ahead and click that, and we'll wait a moment for people to find themselves on the My Actions page. Okay. I'm hoping everyone made it to their My Actions page. And this is exactly the section where you'll see the suggested actions I talked about, the ones that are created based on your sector, whether you're a family or a diocese or a parish. Some of you may be seeing the survey, for example, and you can take some time to do that survey. Again, it's maybe about 2 minutes to answer some of those questions. Again, no right or wrong answers. But for those of you who have already completed that survey, you may be already seeing your actions. Again, these aren't meant to be overwhelming. They're meant to inspire. Please think of them as starting points, practical steps you can take, again, rooted in integral ecology. Take a moment to scroll through them, read a few that catch your eye, and as you do, we invite you to share in the chat what's one action that resonates with you personally. It could be something that surprised you, something you hadn't thought about before, or something that affirms the work you're already doing. And we'll take a moment for each of you to do that, and I'll see what I can read from the chat. And I'm seeing a few comments about trouble logging in or the site being slow. I think we have one acknowledging that maybe this many people logging in could be slowing down the site. Yeah, there we go. So if that is your experience, it's likely due to that issue. I would ask if that is something that you are coming across, try refreshing the page, or we may have to come back to this later. Or something that I could do, let's see if I can log on and show things from my end. No, I'm experiencing the same thing as all of you. So I think our collective effort to explore the actions together has challenged the site at this moment. But my invitation would be to come back to the website at another time uh, when you're ready to explore those actions and see if you can find something that resonates with you. Thank you everyone for your patience. My hope was to make the session a little more interactive with your own exploration. But on my end, I will say that the website includes actions that are divided by several Laudato Si goals, including hearing the cry of the earth, cry of the poor, uh, adoption of a sustainable lifestyle. And each of those goals has a number of actions that you can adopt or feel inspired by. Again, thank you for your patience, everyone. I think from here, I would want to move us into the Q&A session because I'm already seeing several questions in the chat that range from practical guidance to some technical issues. And I want to open that up now. Um, we're starting your journey, and many of you have been with us for years. So I want to take some time to honor all of that, and we'll respond to as many questions as we can. I know we may not be able to get through all of them, but we'll have an opportunity to share feedback and more questions through a survey. And over time, we'll be able to collectively work to make the platform a better and more accessible space. Please submit your questions through the Q&A box. It's a little easier for us to track the questions, and let's start with some of the ones I'm seeing now. I'm seeing a question. Du- 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 du. Okay, I see one from Carol. Are you able to write your own different actions instead of clicking on suggested ones? So to answer that question, I think something that we had in mind was to write the suggested actions as a starting point for everybody. However, we did want to give each participant the opportunity to write actions that were more relevant to their particular context and community. You'll see in each Laudato Si goal, when you're able to log in, that there will be some actions toward the end that have some blank text. And in that space, you're able to type in some text and write an action that is particular to your community or your work. That way you can keep track of the action and over time, mark it once it's completed. What is the relationship between actions and the old annual plans that people submitted? This is a question from David. Thank you, David. Part of the redesign process was the hope that people could review their plans every year and submit a new plan based on their progress. I think this is adaptable to whatever progress you made each year. And we would be hoping that every year a community or an individual or a family could review the action list and say, oh, we've already done this, or we could do this differently next year and include this in our plan, or we just want to keep track of the same project we've been doing across multiple years. Um, Over time, I think we'll see that many actions will change for different communities based on their progress. And sometimes plans that were relevant 2 years ago will no longer be relevant maybe 2 years into the future, or maybe some details will be. But it's up to you as individuals to adapt that to your own particular needs. So you can always recheck actions that you've already done, or if the actions are things that require attention every year, include them in your plan and check them again. Hopefully that answered your question, David. I'm seeing another question. Would there be a mobile app version of the platform in the future? I would say at this time, the best experience of the website would be on a desktop version. We are working to update the mobile version so it's a little more accessible. If you need to check your Laudato Si Action Platform actions, for example, or documents on your phone. But that is an update that we are working to deliver in the future, but it's not something that we can guarantee right now at this point. Mhm. And again, I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat. We encourage you to answer or send questions in the Q&A button. It'll be a little easier for us to find them that way. I'm also seeing that several people are finding their actions um, or surveys in a different language. And we appreciate you flagging that. That allows us to document the issue and see that it's something that we need to fix. Um, if you do see errors like that in the future, feel free to email us at info@laudatosiactionplatform.org, and we can get a better sense of how many people are experiencing this problem so we can improve the platform for everyone. I'm seeing a question around tracking progress on an action, even if we didn't complete that action. I would say if you did not complete an action, but you want to track your progress on how you're doing on it, I would encourage you to um, either keep some private documentation on your own end, whether that is with your institution and community. And once you're ready to mark it as complete, feel free to go ahead and mark it on the website. There are other spaces on the website where you can customize questions around, we've made this progress, but we're not ready to mark off this action. And that would be something like the plan template, for example. You can say, hey, this year we've worked really hard to reduce our use of plastic and styrofoam, but we're not quite there. Next year, we're going to work hard to complete that action. Mhm. I'm seeing a question. Can actions that make a difference be cut and pasted into another document to use with parishes? So to answer that question, which I think many of you may be sharing, how can we adapt these questions or these actions for our own purposes? I would say the answer to that is definitely yes. Again, these actions were meant to inspire. And if you want to take them and copy them and put them into another document or share them with other people, feel free to copy and paste and say, hey, I found this action on the Laudato Si Action Platform website. I think it's something that we can do, and I want to share this information with other people. Um, Again, this is meant to be helpful for you. If there are parts of the platform that are creating the sensation of feeling a little bit stuck, or maybe you have a neighbor or a friend who may have trouble accessing the website, feel free to share parts of the website more broadly, even if it's just one action or the text. Um, we don't want you to feel like you have to do things by the book in order to do actual change on the ground in your communities. I'm seeing a question from Kate Boyle. Is there a way to see or print a summary of the actions taken to be shared with others in the parish and set up a progress monitoring forum? At this time, there's no way to download the actions you've taken and include them in a file separate from what you're able to see once you log into the platform. I'd be curious to see how many people share that need and that question. It's something that we could definitely explore without it being something I want to promise either. We had an earlier question around copy and pasting the actions. And I think the alternative we can offer at this time is, again, doing precisely that. Seeing the actions that have been checked off in this case and copy and pasting them into a separate document. Um, but I'm glad to hear that this is a need and something that people have been asking about. So thank you, Kate. Oh, and can you explain the bar graph of actions? Yes, I'd be happy to do that. So the bar graph that we see at the top is a reflection of the actions you've taken across the Laudato Si goals. So for example, if you've taken a number of Laudato Si goals or Laudato Si actions in the goal Cry of the Earth or ecological economics, that bar will grow in the bar chart. It's a good way to give participants a sense of where they have emphasis in the actions and where they could grow in others. So, for example, if a community is seeing that they made a lot of progress in ecological economics or ecological education, uh, they can take that in with the visual chart and maybe consider this might be a good year to do some work in the adoption of sustainable lifestyles and grow in that Laudato Si goal. Uh, it gives you a holistic picture, our hope, of the kind of progress you've made in different areas of ecological change. And we have a follow-up question around the bar chart. Will this bar chart reset each January? And the answer to that is yes. That way you get a fresh look of what is ahead of you each year as you complete each actions. I will say that some of the actions are one-time actions, things like install solar panels, for example. I don't think we'd expect you to install solar panels each year, but a majority of these actions are things that you can do cyclically, which led to that decision. Thank you for that question. Mhm. And another follow-up on the bar chart question, when does it show growth? It seems like some people are seeing that the bar chart is stuck. In that case, I would invite you to refresh the page or log out and log in and see if there's an update. If the bar chart doesn't refresh, then it reflects a technical issue on our end. And again, we'd be happy to document that and work together to resolve it. Thank you for that question. Mhm. Another question, is there a plan to keep records from year to year? The answer to that is yes, specifically for your plans and reflections. I didn't go over it in too much detail in my presentation today, but you'll see in the upper left-hand corner, there's a tab that says My Plans and Reflections. If you click on that tab in the menu, you'll see your current plan and reflection if you've submitted one for that year, but you'll also start to see an archive of past plans and reflections. That way you have it all in the same place and it's accessible to you to download if you need to compare your plan from 2023, for example, to 2025. Uh, we'll keep that for you so you have documentation across this multi-year work, but what will be reset is the action list. As I mentioned earlier, every January, you'll have a clean slate for doing the actions and to envision your plan anew each year. That will not be kept from year to year. Another question, my plan starts from October to September. Do I have to submit again for January? My answer to that is no. Do not feel pressured to submit or reorient your plans just to conform to an annual year cycle. Everyone starts the journey at their own pace, at their own time. And if you enroll on the platform, for example, in August or July, we don't want you to wait 6 months to start your work. I would say, trust the cycle that works for your community and your context. Um, Again, the platform is here to serve your needs. You don't have to adapt to us necessarily. And I think that's also reflected in the steps as well. When we looked at the dashboard together, you'll see steps 1, 2, 3, 4, but you can check off the steps at any point in time. You don't have to finish step 2 to complete step 4, for example, because we know some communities like to reflect first. We know some communities like to plan their actions and then step into a stage of reflection post-action. Um, so all of this to say is that we have a structure and it's here to guide many of you, but you are the leaders of your own context and how your community works. So if October to September is what works for your context and community, feel free to continue with that cycle. And don't feel pressured by necessarily what we're proposing here to do good work. Mhm. Well, I think at this time we would have to conclude our Q&A session, but I want to thank each of you for raising these questions. This is precisely why we had this webinar, so we can make sense of what's new with each other. We can get a sense of what's working and where we could grow, and together make sure that the platform is a more accessible and stronger place than it was the year before and the year before that. I know I wasn't able to address many of your questions, or work through each technical issue that some of you may be experiencing, but we want to document it, as I mentioned several times before. So we're going to share a survey in the chat, and through that medium, hopefully we can continue to capture some of the questions you're experiencing. I will say it is an anonymous survey, and it's more so to help us get a broader understanding of how people are experiencing this new platform so we can continue to work on it. As I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, if you continue to have a lot of individual issues, again, feel free to email us at info@laudatosiactionplatform.org, and we can work with you one-on-one to see what we can fix, or at least give you some realistic expectations as to where we are in some of these updates and fixes. So we'll see that in the chat in just a moment. And I also want to say we do have a series of blogs that we published, and that includes also another giant list of FAQs that may answer some of the questions some of you may already be having. So I encourage you to look at that as well. I'll go ahead and add our email again to the chat, as well as some of the blogs I just mentioned. Well, before we conclude our time together, I've said multiple times that we want the Laudato Si Action Platform to be a place of action, and to bring that spirit into our conversation. I want to invite us to take a moment to think about an action that you want to do in the next few days, the next weeks, the next month. Whether you plant trees or organize events or advocate for policy changes, sharing your experiences will inspire each other. So please, in the chat, we want to invite each of you to share one action you're currently undertaking, and we'll take a moment to celebrate each other's commitments. Mhm. We have Dan planning adult education for care of creation. That's a wonderful action as we come upon that season soon. Caring for the plants we've already planted. Madeline is planning Laudato Si Youth Summit for Catholic schools in Florida. Bernard publishing a blog each week on what communities are doing. Linda growing vegetables for the food bank at their church. An interfaith creation care event that connects with a local economic nonprofit. Sends citation to the pollution issue where Solange is coming from. Peace education. The first meeting for the All Green Church with Église Verte in Paris. Practicing waste segregation from Sister Maria. Working with older adults in creation care of species within the Botanic Garden. Composting, driving an electric vehicle, organizing an art show, pilgrimage for the hope of creation, an awareness workshop. And I want to invite you to keep sharing because I could read these all day. COP30 awareness building. I am just so grateful for all of the actions I'm seeing today. Again, the action that you do is the heart of this platform, and we want this tool to be something that supports you in precisely this kind of work. I keep saying in a lot of our meetings that we are not alone. The actions you're doing are connected to the actions that someone else is doing on the other side of the planet. And you are each inspiring us every day to become a better and stronger platform for you. So thank you, everyone. I also want to thank everyone who made this webinar possible. We have several interpreters supporting us today, including Michaela in Italian, Cristiana in Portuguese, Marco in French, and Carla in Spanish. They made this webinar more inclusive and accessible to people coming from those parts of the world who speak those languages. I want to thank Sarah, who helped us with our slideshow presentation today, and our team, and of course, every one of you who showed up today, so we can make Laudato Si come to life. So thank you, everyone. I hope this gathering renewed your sense of purpose, and we look forward to seeing the meaningful steps you'll take and to walk with you in the seasons ahead. Blessings to you all, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.